The story begins here, in the Dordogne in southern France. 20,000 years ago, it all looked quite different. Covered in ice and snow, the haunt of woolly mammoths and reindeer, which were hunted by our small, hairy ancestors. Primitive? Yes. But here, somewhere underneath my feet, is the proof that they were like us in all the ways that really matter. With only their flickering lamps to guide them, the cavemen felt their way down into the earth. When the prehistoric artists came to Lascaux, the caves were impenetrably dark. These great images were not made to be seen, still less to be sight-seen. Why did they paint them here in the depth of the earth down winding corridors? Some people thought that they were priest painters making hunting magic for the tribe. But the animal the tribe lived on, using every part of it, a kind of walking supermarket, was the reindeer. And they don't paint reindeer. What they paint are the great bulls and bison and the wild deer, all the animals they didn't hunt, but they watched them. Take my favorite image, the great horse, the Mongolian horse. The Mongolian horse doesn't really look like that, with that great sway of the belly and that sharp nose and the inspired black calligraphy of the legs. It's, dare I say it, an impressionistic horse, an impression of a horse, and yet an odd impression. Almost as if the artist was not trying to show what a horse was like, but what it felt to be a horse. Or look at the great bison. These two great black balls of male erotic fury going to explode on one another. He's looked, the artist. He's seen that one of them is losing his coat because it's spring, the rutting season. Observation, and yet emotionally, how right. That great red streak shows something of the feeling of the animal. And it's this looking with awe and with wonder that makes Lascaux what it is. Because all these animals are beautiful. And centuries ago, when there was room on earth for all of us, how humankind must have yearned to be strong and beautiful, free, innocent, all the things that they were not and we are not. And perhaps that's why they made these images secretly in the earth, to honor the animals. And so you see, scientifically, these are primitive people. Because science advances. It's like a ladder, one step leads to another. But art isn't like that. Art is about being human. Children make art instinctively. Archaeologists know when they find evidence of art, they found evidence of human beings. It expresses all that is best in us, our desires, our hopes, our truth. And so art changes, but it doesn't get better. And in the great hall of the bulls, with these images of majesty and power, so strong, so dignified, we understand that painting starts at the top. And after the caves, a blank. 15,000 years go by, and then the story starts again in ancient Egypt. In the world of the pharaohs, the Tutankhamun world, human creation was on an epic scale. But though we know the names of the rulers, we know practically nothing about the architects, sculptors and painters. They were merely functional, as you can see from the name for both sculptor and painter, he who keeps alive. Essentially, the art of ancient Egypt springs from their intense belief in the afterlife. Originally, all these temples were covered in brightly coloured paint. But the harsh outside world erodes, burns, bleaches out. It's only in the sealed-away places, like the tombs, where paintings have survived. This is a painting we were never supposed to see. It was a purely private matter between Ramoses, the governor of Thebes, and an artist whose name we'll never know, but whose skill would enable Ramoses to do what he couldn't do himself, that is, have a highly successful afterlife. Because the Egyptians believed that what you had in the tomb went with you. It made all the difference between great success in the afterlife and miserable anonymity. Now, Ramoses clearly had a most impressive funeral, but it was no good just having it once. He wanted it always, always there with him to show in the afterlife what a great, important figure he was. This is my favourite bit, the mourning women. And of course, you don't want real grief with you in the afterlife, and that's not what he's getting. He's got highly professional mourners, very expensive. If you look at those faces lifted upwards, they're completely impassive. And they're doing the whole mourning act with enormous grace, their arms like a great sea anemone stretching out with elegance into all directions. And the artist has clearly put in this little naked slave girl to show the difference between her and the real mourners. And there's a beginner mourner too, holding on to the elderly lady to show how these movements of the hands have to be learnt. And you know she's the senior lady because she has this drooping pear of a breast as opposed to the firm little apples of everybody else. So there it is. Rich, successful, important Governor Ramoses. And what a joy that at long last we're able to share with him his elegant ladies. Whatever the subject, Egyptian tomb painting obeys the same rigid rules. They want the messages to the next world to be totally clear. What one nobleman wanted was an eternity hunting on the Nile. Can you see? Each part of the human body is seen from the most readable angle. A profile is clearer than full face, but the eyes are clearer seen from the front. Full front torso, sideways legs. And it's Nibberman's too, so he's enormous, with a small wife and a tiny daughter. Then what energy in the hunting cat and the birds. The Egyptian artist felt free, plainly, to paint birds with enormous vitality. He hadn't got to make it as clear as he had with the human figure. But if we want an art which takes the human body seriously,